Welcome to this presentation on strategies for validating potential terms. So you've eliminated the noise, and now you have a list of potential terms from your automatic terminology extraction results. How do you go about validating the terms in your potential terminology list? As Andraj Rapar points out in an interview on terminology extraction, one of the ways is through definition extraction. So typically, if a term is indeed a term within a specialized domain, if a term is indeed represents a specialized concept, a subject matter expert, and in fact, a great many subject matter experts will have defined the concept in their writing for other subject matter experts. That said, searches can be done within your special language corpus and within databases like Google Scholar of common collocations for introducing definitions. In English, I might do a search of term is or term is comprised of, or term consists of, in order to generate some results in which definitions for the term are given. And so I'm just drawing upon my knowledge of how definitions are typically introduced in writing in order to do a search that will help to generate some definitions, if definitions indeed exist. So then you review your search results for actual definitions. I wouldn't just go to my search results and say, term is a nice way of saying things. That's not a definition, that's just another type of sentence, no? So when reviewing the results, we would want to check that multiple subject matter experts have defined the concept in the same way. And that would tell us that what we're looking at is indeed a term. Another tool that we can use to help us to determine if a term is indeed a term is relative frequency. And this is a mathematical calculation that helps us to determine if a term is a term. So to calculate relative frequency, first you divide the number of occurrences of a term in a special language corpus by the number of words in that special language corpus, the one that you used for terminology extraction. Next, you would search your term in a general language corpus. In English, we might look at the corpus of contemporary American English. We'd go on to divide the number of occurrences of the term in the general language corpus by the number of words in the general language corpus. And these two mathematical equations are going to generate some percentages, right? If there is a higher percentage of the term candidate in a special language corpus than in a general language corpus, that's a pretty good sign that you've identified a term. That's because the term is being used more frequently among within the community of specialists, subject matter experts who talk about a specific topic with frequency. For example, let's say that the term computer-assisted translation, just by a stroke of luck, occurs in both a special localization corpus and a general language corpus around 7,500 times. If the localization corpus contains 200,000 words and the general language corpus contains 2 billion words, the relative frequency would be that computer-assisted translation occurs 3.75% has an occurrence rate of 3.75% in the special language corpus and 0.000365% in the general language corpus, which would be a sign that the term is indeed a term. This idea of calculating relative frequency, it has to be noted, is also an area where the ethics of the linguistic assets available in different languages comes into play, since lingua franca like English are more likely to have a greater variety of general language corpora available for relative frequency calculations than what are sometimes referred to as long tail languages, which will necessarily have less linguistic resources upon which to draw in order to do calculations of frequency of appearance in a general language corpus. That said, as a terminologist in one of those long tail languages, it's recommended to start building up general language corpora in addition to any special language corpora that you're building. Above all, look for frequency when we're thinking about how to identify terms from our potential terminology lists that have been generated from automatic terminology extraction. Frequency really is the name of the game in validating terminology extraction results. To be a term, a word or phrase must be used by a wide variety of subject matter experts writing for other subject matter experts on a topic from a specialized domain. When 2 or 3 spelling variations are present, typically the most frequent of them should be considered the head term, and the other spelling variations should be recorded as synonyms for the head term. If a candidate term doesn't show frequent current use, this could mean a couple of things. It could be obsolete, having fallen out of usage, in which case you still probably want to record it, but you'd want to be aware that it's not currently used. Or it may be that a term has been coined or invented much too recently to be considered a bona fide term. Language, as I discussed previously when talking about the writing of Juan Sager, language always needs a period of leveling out when a new technology is introduced, or during this time, people experiment with how to communicate about that technology. It takes a good number of years for groups of language speakers to decide with one another organically what term will be used to refer to a new concept. So in that case, you'd want to record the potential variants and keep an eye on them so that once, I don't know, a winner looks like it's been chosen, you know, to use that term. This is also where the quality of your corpora comes into play. If you've built a corpus containing representative and unbiased sample of specialized texts, you can also rely upon that data in your corpus to identify terms from frequency of use. All right, that concludes this presentation on strategies for validating terms.